Hello, and welcome back to Capitol Hill. I'm your host, Adam Preston. Tonight I have a very fantastic show coming up for you. We're honored to be joined by Senator Kyle Fitzgerald, a Democrat from New York.
Good evening, everybody. Great to be here. Thanks, Adam.
We also have Senator Ray Sizemore, a Republican from Virginia.
It's great to be here, Adam.
It's great to have both of you. So let's jump right into it, shall we? First question I have, it goes to Senator Sizemore, comes from Marilyn in Houston. She said, on Twitter you called opposition to the TPP absurd, but your own leader in the Senate has drawn a line in the sand to defeat the measure. Is there any hope left for the TPP?
Well, see,
all you, Senator.
What you got to understand is that the Republican Party, we are a big tent party. We don't stifle opposition within our own party. We're free to disagree on issues like this, and that's what's important. So yes, the majority leader does oppose TPP, and that's fine. But I support it. I support free trade, and I believe that free trade is necessary for a strong economy for everybody. See, when we trade more, we have cheaper goods, and when we have cheaper goods, people have more money to spend on more things, and that creates more jobs for everybody. That's common sense. That's basic economics, and that's why I am a strong supporter of TPP, and I think we need it ratified right away.
If I were to take a guess, I would say that Senator Fitzgerald would say that it depends a lot on who you trade with. Is that true?
That is true. You know, I'm not against, and look, as people probably know, I've said that this deal is a total disaster. I think we've signed some really bad trade deals, and I think this might be the worst. And I'm not against free trade. I think there are good trade partners in the world. I got to say they're few and far between, unfortunately. When you look around the world and you see all the currency manipulation and all the ways that countries rip us off, and the World Trade Organization, the rules are really rigged against us. But this TPP, we hear this all the time. Every time we enter into one of these trade deals, we hear this. Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to create so many jobs, and we heard that with NAFTA. That's what both parties said about NAFTA, and they were dead wrong. Before NAFTA, we had a trade surplus of over $1 billion with Mexico. Now we have a trade deficit of over $50 billion with them. It's been a complete disaster. And I also hear cheaper goods. I hear that all the time. Well, what difference does it make how cheap the goods are if you don't have a job? If you don't have a job and you're not making any money, it doesn't matter whether you have cheaper goods. You can't afford it if you're making $0.
In your response to that, Senator Sizemore?
Well, yes, but the point here is that when goods are cheaper, then the people that do happen to have, let's say someone does happen to lose their job in manufacturing, for instance. That's where we always hear that this is a problem, that people are losing their manufacturing jobs. And yes, that's true, but jobs are being created elsewhere. And then let's say someone does happen to lose their job. When goods are cheaper for everyone, that means everyone is benefiting. When everyone benefits, when everyone is paying less for goods, that means that the economy is doing better, and there's more likelihood that more jobs are going to be created for the ones that lost their manufacturing jobs. So yes, people may have lost their manufacturing jobs in the short term, but in the long term, it's better for everyone. More current, more modern jobs are going to be created for everyone, and everyone is going to benefit from a modern economy. That's what this is about. That's what free trade is about. That's what increasing our trade partnerships is about, creating a more modern economy. We cannot continue to act as though we have a 1990s economy. We are in the 21st century now, and we have to act like it.
Let me tell you where the jobs are being created, okay? Here's where the new jobs are being created. McDonald's, Starbucks, and Walmart. There's where your jobs are being created that are replacing the manufacturing jobs that have left our country, that have just been ripped right out of our country. Okay, we can't, this new service-based economy, it's not sustainable. You have to build things and produce things, and we're not doing that anymore. And you're seeing income inequality just skyrocket. I mean, it's like never before. We have the more income inequality than at any point in modern American history, and a lot of that's because of what you're describing. We're losing good jobs, and it's being replaced by jobs that pay half of what people used to make. It's sad.
The talk about income inequality is a completely different subject, but I will say, Margaret Thatcher once said that folks on the left who are raving against income inequality, that they would rather that the poor were poorer, so long as the rich were less rich. That's their problem. Their problem is not the gap. The problem is that the rich are too rich in their eyes. But so yes, there is a larger gap than there used to be in terms of income inequality, but people across the board are earning more. Everyone is earning more. Yes, the income gap is larger, but everyone is earning more than they were in the past. That's a fact.
Let me jump in real quick, gentlemen. Our next question comes from Richard from Kent, Washington. It's along the same subject, so we can continue with the conversation. He asked about directed to Senator Fitzgerald. He asked about your new bill that you've introduced in the Senate, the Outsourcing Tariff Act. It imposes a 35% tax on imported goods. And Richard asks, many free trade advocates like myself are astonished. How is this not going to hurt consumers? Senator, what's your response?
Well, I mean, it goes back to everything that we said in the last question. I mean, this service-based economy, this isn't going to work. This is not going to work long term. We have to have a manufacturing base. Manufacturing has a higher multiplier effect than any other sector of the economy. You don't get a multiplier effect like that in any other sector of the economy. And we can't continue to see Ford and Carrier and Whirlpool and these other companies take plants out of America, go to another country, give other countries the jobs that we used to have, and then come in and think that they're going to undercut manufacturers that aren't doing that. They can't be allowed to. They can't get away with that anymore. We cannot let these companies do that. We have to stand up for ourselves and quit being abused by other countries and by multinational corporations.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I'm not sure. I'm sorry to cut you off, Senator Sizemore, in just 1 second. But I'm not sure that accurately addresses Richard's concern. He's worried about, the people going to Walmart and paying, significantly more for the goods that they could pay, a little less, but just get them from China. They're not losing their jobs. It's abstract to them. What would you tell Richard, sir?
Well, I would say that, I think that's, I don't think that is, we have to have a manufacturing base in our country. I mean, whether you have, the increase that you're talking about, if you have any increase at all, it's going to be a marginal increase. I mean, it's going to be so marginal that you're not even really going to notice it. You're not even going to notice it. But you do notice when you lose your job, that you were making $20, $25 an hour, and you had a middle class lifestyle, and you were raising a family, and now you're working $10 an hour or $8 an hour. You notice that. That's a sharp decrease in your quality of life. So the question is, do you want to make half or a third of what you made before and pay, a few cents more for a product, or pay a few cents less for a product? Or do you want to have a middle class lifestyle? Do you want to live in a country that produces things, that builds things, that's competitive in the global economy, that stands up for itself, that doesn't get pushed around and abused by the rest of the world and these multinational corporations? Or do we just want to sell out our country? Do we want to sell out our country because, this product might cost a few cents cheaper?
Senator Sizemore, are you selling us out?
No, absolutely not. I am beginning to think that my friend over here has a fundamental misunderstanding of how economies work. And this, if you look in any history book, you will see we have taken this isolationist tariff, protectionist rather, this protectionist approach to trade, to global economies. It has destroyed our economy every time. Senator Fitzgerald wants to talk about how it's only a few cents more in prices that we're going to pay. That's just not true, especially with such an absurd tariff like 35%. It's ridiculous to think that they're only going to see a couple cents increase in price if we stop trading with everybody else. And
I never said we can't trade with anybody else. I never said we couldn't trade with anybody else. Never said that.
Well, no, but what your policy does say that, because if we start implementing 35% tariffs on everybody, then nobody's going to want to trade with us. We're not going to trade with anybody if we start throwing
on the countries that rip our jobs away. It's only on those countries, not every country.
Countries are ripping our jobs away because Democrats on your side of the aisle are implementing ridiculous regulations on businesses here. That's why businesses are leaving. Businesses are leaving because they cannot.
Hey, we don't have the White House right now. We don't have the White House right now. We don't even
That's
control
fine.
Congress. So I don't know what regulations we're implementing right now. I'm not implementing any regulations.
You know who did?
All right, let's
President
go
Obama.
ahead and move on, gentlemen. Let's go ahead and move on real quick. The next question.
I'm a
is coming to
billionaire
you,
real
Senator
estate developer,
Sizemore.
by the way, so I think I understand the economy. Just wanted to clarify that. I've done business all over the world. I understand how these people think.
All right, thank you very much. So our next question comes from Southfield, Michigan, from Willie. He asks to Senator Sizemore, he said on Fox News that a state should be able to fly a Confederate flag. Do you still stand by this statement? What's your response, sir?
Well, that's not exactly the most accurate representation of my opinion on this issue. What I said was that this isn't an issue for the federal government. The federal government shouldn't be dictating to states what flags they can be flying. Now, if for instance, this was just an issue in South Carolina. If I were a resident of South Carolina, I would have supported the South Carolinian government taking the flag down. But obviously, as an African American, I don't appreciate what the flag represents, and this is obviously a very complex issue that is touches racial issues that are deep in the heart of this country. That's important to consider when you're talking about this issue. But what I said before was that it's not the place for the federal government to tell states what flags they can or cannot fly. But like I said, if, for instance, back in South Carolina a couple of years ago, if I was a resident of South Carolina, I would have supported the South Carolinian government taking the flag down. But that's an issue for the states, not for the federal government.
Do you have any response to that, Senator Fitzgerald?
Well, I think we've got to find a way to resolve this without, obviously, like Senator Sizemore said, it's very complicated. You have people on both sides. Obviously, to people of color, it's very offensive to many of them. But you have people on the other side who say that, this is, their great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents fought in the Civil War, and it's historical for them. I'm not from the South. I'm not from, South Carolina or Virginia, so I don't really know. I'm a New Yorker, so I don't really know. But, I just think the best place for these sort of things is in a museum. I think put the flag in a museum. We can preserve the history, but I don't feel like it's really appropriate to fly it in public like that.
Right. Senator Fitzgerald is absolutely right. I feel the same way. But like I'm saying, this is an issue for the individuals of these states to consider. If something like this would be brought up in my state of Virginia, I would absolutely support taking them down and putting them in a museum like Senator Fitzgerald just said. But again, I'm a senator in Washington, and I'm not going to have Washington dictate any rules to the states.
Very good. Thank you. Our next question is going to Senator Fitzgerald. It comes from Stephen from Scranton, Pennsylvania. He says, you have previously advocated for term limits for members of Congress. How long is too long for members of Capitol Hill?
Well, I think, and you can use recent examples. I'll use one in each party. Just to be fair, Strom Thurmond and Robert Byrd. That's too long. When you have people that are 90, 100 years old still in the U.S. Senate, that's too long. If you're in the Senate for 30, 40, 50 years, that's too long. I don't have an exact number for you. I don't know, and I haven't written a bill on it. But I mean, I'm just using common sense. If the problem is that in our government we have, and it's in both chambers, it's in the House and in the Senate. You have a system where, because it's really easy to get reelected as an incumbent, you just serve term after term after term, and you have relationships with all the special interest groups, and you're just living off the graft that's inherent in our political system, and that's got to be cut out. And I really believe that the only way to cut that out is to have term limits. And I'm not saying it needs to be like after 5 years or even 10 years, but we can't have people serving 30, 40, 50 years. And you need fresh ideas. You need new people. You need fresh ideas.
Yes,
is this something you'd agree with?
Oh, absolutely. You're absolutely right. You can't be serving in Congress for decade after decade after decade. We've got term limits on the President of the United States, and we've got them on the President for a reason, because we cannot have someone in office for life. But that seems to be what we have in Congress. And that's why we do need term limits for Congress. And unlike Senator Fitzgerald, I do have a number off the top of my head. What I would like to see implemented, 2 terms for senators, that's 12 years, and 6 terms in the House, also 12 years. 12 years in Congress. That's long enough. Like Senator Fitzgerald said, we need fresh ideas. We cannot have lifelong senators creating policies that, from their perspective, from the 1930s. We've got problems that we need fresh ideas for in order to get solutions for, and we can't have that with these 90 and 100-year-old senators like Senator Fitzgerald said.
Guys, you're killing me. I bring you, opposite ends of the spectrum, bring you on the show. Oh, they're just going to bitch at each other the entire time. But no, we agree.
Well, we started off arguing with each other, but, it's kind of calmed down since then.
It's good in this political climate that we can find things to compromise on, things that we agree on as Americans. So should we expect a joint bill from you two about it?
I'm absolutely open to that.
I'd be open to it, yeah.
Cool. Well, I look forward to seeing it. All right, let's move on. The next question goes to Senator Sizemore, if you couldn't have guessed already. He comes from Jackie from Hazard, Kentucky. She asks, you've recently co-sponsored the bill by Senators Miller and Braddock to legalize marijuana nationally, likely, surprising many in the process. Why did you take such a hard left on the issue, she asks.
I don't think this is a leftist position I hold. I think, I am of the party of small government, freedom, and liberty. As such, I believe that government needs to be out of the business of controlling what people put in their bodies. I'm of the belief that people ought to be free to do what they want with their own bodies. Smoking a joint isn't harming anybody other than yourself. So, there should be no reason that the government has any place in that. And so that's why I legalize marijuana.
Senator Fitzgerald, do you agree?
No, I don't. Let me tell you something. If you're going to do this, and I've looked at the bill, if you're going to do this, if you're going to legalize weed, you better tax the hell out of it. And I've seen the bill says 20%. I think it should be 50%. We're playing with fire here with this, okay? Because people may be surprised to see the Republican want to legalize this and the Democrat doesn't, but we're playing with fire here. This is a gateway drug. This is the drug that our young kids get a hold of it, and then they end up smoking, they end up taking heroin or cocaine or LSD. It's a gateway drug. So, the only way that I can see where this could possibly be worth it is if you just tax the hell out of it. And I would need to be convinced. If I were to vote for something like this, I would need to see revenue numbers that are just out of this world. Just unbelievable to support this, because you're going to lose productivity. Because it's you hear the stereotype of the druggie sitting at home, playing video games, smoking pot. It's true. You're going to have a lot more of that, and you're going to have more medical costs. People getting overdoses because they started with weed and then went to something else, and before you know it, you got all these people in the hospital. So that's going to cost money. And it's just the moral decay of our society.
I can tell Senator Sizemore's just dying to jump in. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yes. Not a single thing my friend has just said is accurate. Not a single thing that just came out of his mouth is based on fact. Not a single study that has ever been done will back up anything that just came out of Senator Fitzgerald's mouth. The idea that weed is a gateway drug is absurd. The idea that people are going to be overdosing on marijuana is, I don't even know where you could have possibly gotten that from. And now,
wrong.
None of this is wrong, Senator. None of this is wrong. I encourage you to actually look at studies and look at statistics.
I have looked at studies. I have looked at facts.
You look at, Senator. I don't know what facts. You must be looking at these alternative facts, Senator, because the facts that you're putting out here are not real. And the idea that productivity is going to be down is not true. Like you said it yourself. This is a stereotype. This is a comic depiction of people who smoke weed.
Some stereotypes are rooted in facts, Senator.
The very definition of a stereotype is something being blown out of proportion and applied to an entire population of people. That's the very definition of a stereotype. So the idea that all people who have ever touched marijuana...
I didn't know we were so defensive of marijuana users.
What I'm defensive of
is
people trying to take away... No, what I'm defensive of...
The senator seems to be defending the population that uses these drugs.
I think what he's defending is... I think the issue that it comes down to that we're talking about right now is... one says, "Oh, I've seen facts." Well, what are they on both sides? What are your studies? What are your facts? Both of you.
What I've seen. Look. Let's look at Colorado. Colorado has legalized marijuana. Have we seen a sudden drop in people working? Not that I've seen. No, we haven't. Look at Massachusetts legalized marijuana. Are all of a sudden, has there been a spike in video game sales because no one's working anymore? I don't think so. So, we don't even have to look at studies. We can look at real life to show that Senator Fitzgerald is the one that's wrong. We can look at real life, show several real-life examples. Several states have fully legalized marijuana, and none of the things that he's saying would happen have
Good for them. We're not. I'm not. I don't want to do it nationally. Good for them. If it works for them,
No,
great. But I don't want to do it nationally.
Senator
Okay, so
Fitzgerald, I think his point is that it can be a case study. It hasn't, stereotype hasn't, fulfilled itself. Do you totally dismiss that?
Well, I know this. Columbia University, great university, tremendous university in my home state, did a study. Teens who smoke marijuana twice as likely to use cocaine as teens who just happen to drink alcohol. Teens who smoke marijuana 4 times as likely to use cocaine as teens who just smoke cigarettes. And adults who use marijuana as minors 17 times more likely to use cocaine than adults who didn't use marijuana as minors. It's a gateway drug, okay? It's a gateway drug. And you can bring up Colorado and Massachusetts, but it absolutely is a gateway drug. The facts don't lie. The studies are there. It's dangerous.
Okay,
Look, if 2 or 3 states want to legalize it, maybe we isolate it to those 2 or 3 states and we're okay. But at this point, I can't support a full legalization. I just can't. Too dangerous.
Senator Sizemore, that doesn't sound like alternative facts.
Look, again, let's look at Colorado and Massachusetts and all of these states that have legalized marijuana. Where's this epidemic of epidemic of cocaine? Where is it?
Are you serious? We have a huge.
Go on.
Go ahead.
You're referencing cocaine. Let's talk about these mystery cocaine epidemics that are going on. Have Colorado and Massachusetts been overrun by cocaine? Because I haven't heard any news about it.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. The next question, the next question is actually going to Senator Fitzgerald. He comes from Michael from Grand Island, Nebraska. He says, you told Rachel Maddow that we should do drug testing on welfare recipients. Should we be expecting a bill from you to do this soon?
I have been working on a bill, actually, and I noticed that Frank Underwood, who is the Senate Majority Leader, gave a very similar answer on the same show to the same question. So I am working on a bill, and I think that this is something where I think there is some potential to, maybe get both parties together and pass something good for the country. But yeah, look, I think we do need to drug test people who receive public assistance, but we need to do it with heart. And, we need to provide these people with the treatment that they need to get better and get their lives, back on track, because we do have an opioid crisis in this country. And I think that, if you have these communities where, a lot of them, they've lost, their economic way of life because of a lot of it's, go back to the beginning, a lot of it's because of trade, and they don't have jobs, and so they're on welfare, they don't have anything to do, and they resort to drugs because that's what is in their communities. And if we could test everybody that's on welfare that's using drugs, that's a large segment of our population that uses drugs. We could go a long way towards solving the opioid crisis in this country if we did that.
Senator Sizemore, what do you think about that?
Yeah, Senator Fitzgerald talks about this bipartisan deal that they might get on this issue. I can tell you I won't be part of it. I come from a wing of the party that believes in the Bill of Rights, right? See, and people have, citizens have a protection from unwarranted searches. Being on welfare is not a crime, see. So they have a protection from warrantless searches. a drug test is a search, and you cannot search someone just for being on welfare.
We already do it in New York. We already do it for certain, not for every not for every public assistance program, but we do it in New York, and we do it in many other states for certain programs.
That doesn't make it constitutional, Senator. Just because it's
do you know if there has been a challenge?
Doesn't make it constitutional. I'm sorry?
Do you know if there has been a challenge to the constitutionality of New York's law?
There has not been, to my knowledge, but that doesn't change my opinion that it is unconstitutional. For quite a long time, there wasn't any constitutional challenge to segregation, Senator. But that did not change the fact that it was indeed unconstitutional.
Well, let me make one thing clear, okay? And if we were to put forward a bill, I would make it very clear that the results of this drug test cannot be used for criminal prosecution or in a court of law. It's only to ensure that people get treatment, and I personally wouldn't even want to take away benefits until the second failed drug test. I don't know. Maybe Frank Underwood, I don't know, maybe he would use it to, try and put people in jail. That wouldn't be my intent. And I don't know if that makes it better or, the same in your opinion, Senator, but I don't think being on welfare is a crime, and I don't intend to use this as a backdoor way to put people in jail. Absolutely not.
The Constitution doesn't protect against searches only from certain things, Senator. The Constitution protects against warrantless searches, period. Not only for criminal conviction, not only for arrest, it protects against warrantless searches, period. And so, no, that doesn't make it any better in my opinion. And the fact still remains that just because these people are receiving benefits, that doesn't subject them to searches from the government. And on top of that,
it's a drug test. We're talking about a drug test. We're not talking about somebody going into your home. I want to make that clear too. I mean, the way you present it, you make it sound like agents are going to come into your home and turn over everything. We're talking about taking a drug test. It's what you do to get any job. To get just about any job, you have to take a drug test. Okay. When I owned a company, people had drug tests. Pretty much every contractor that I hired or any union that I hired, they had drug tests. So this isn't like some kind of outrageous thing we're talking about. We're talking about a drug test to continue to receive federal public assistance, taxpayer dollars. To me, that's common sense.
Senator, your company is not the government, and just because nobody's going into your home doesn't mean it's not a search. A drug test is still a search. It's still a search, Senator. So, under the Constitution, the government does not have a right to search you warrantlessly just because you're on welfare. You would think that the Democratic Party here would be protecting poor people. That's what they always claim to be doing. They're protecting poor people. Yet now, we see the chairman of the Democratic Party trying to take advantage.
Well, this is something that I would say most people in both parties, or a lot of people in both parties, honestly, it's probably more Republicans that support this than Democrats, actually. I'm probably going out a little bit on a ledge by supporting this, but I just feel like this is taxpayer money, and we obviously don't interpret the Fourth Amendment the same way. I don't think a drug test to get, you get drug tested to get government jobs. You get drug tested for all sorts of things by the government. Are you going to shut all that down? Are you going to stop? Are you going to not you know, are you going to say we can't take a drug test to get in the military or get hired for a civil service job? I mean, that's absurd. And I would say it is protecting. I would say it is protecting the most vulnerable people, because these are the people who are using drugs, and this would be an opportunity to give them treatment that they would not otherwise have access to. And that's really what this is about. This is not about punishing anybody. This is a golden opportunity to provide, you know, lots of people all across the country with access to drug treatment that they desperately need and that they wouldn't otherwise get.
Senator, your well intentions are not the problem here. You might have the best intentions in the world, Senator, but if we start searching people warrantlessly just because of your well intentions, what happens when the next guy doesn't have your great intentions, Senator? What happens when the next guy has just a little less of a good intention than you do? Are we going to allow him to search warrantlessly as well? That's the problem here, Senator, is that we have constitutionally protected rights for a reason, and we can't ignore them just because you see a golden opportunity to help somebody.
Do you want to respond to that before we move on, Senator Fitzgerald?
I just think it's funny that we're talking about peeing in a cup as some kind of, you know, invasive search, but, you know, whatever. No, I don't know.
Senator. No search is less invasive than another. A warrantless search.
Got to protect our urine from being searched.
The fact that you are taking the fact that you are taking
I just had to bring that up.
A search is a search, Senator, and searches are constitutionally protected. The fact that you're taking my constitutional rights so lightly, Senator, when you took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution.
We have a right to protect our urine, yes.
You can, if you want to throw away the rights of the people in New York, that's fine. But I was elected by the Commonwealth of Virginia to protect their rights and protect their constitutional rights, and I'm going to do just that.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on. Senator Sizemore, this question's actually coming back to you. Don from Portland, Oregon, says, you have said in the past that Bitcoin should be classified as a legal currency. Can you please go ahead and explain your position, please?
Right. So the problem here, or the issue here, is that we have Americans who are have their own little economy here. That's what's going on with Bitcoin. They have their own little economy, and if we were to incorporate that into our own, that can grow our economy. And like I was saying earlier, any opportunity to grow our own economy is one that we ought to take, because when our economy's bigger and doing well, then everybody benefits.
But there are surely risks of that. Wouldn't you agree with Senator Fitzgerald?
Well, Bitcoin is, it's a joke. And pretty much anybody who's anything in the financial world would agree with me. It's a complete joke. There's nothing official about it. So I don't even know how you would make it an official currency. It's a fad. Look, in 5 or 10 years, I don't know if you'll even remember what Bitcoin was. It's that insignificant to me. So no, I don't support. I think there probably is a lot of risk, and no, I don't support making it an official currency.
In your response before we move on, Senator Sizemore?
I don't have any.
Okay. Well, our final question of the night, it comes from Hazel in Huntsville, Alabama, and it's going to Senator Fitzgerald. Hazel asks, in an interview on Fox News Sunday, you called for a high-tech surveillance barrier along the border with Mexico. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, so, we obviously have a bad situation down there. The drug cartels are just, they have free reign. They're bringing in They're bringing in drugs. They're bringing in guns. They're even bringing in sex slaves across the border that just isn't being protected right now, and a Republican administration that's basically done nothing to increase security down there. And what I've proposed to fix this is a high-tech surveillance barrier across, pretty much the length of the border. It would have drones and cameras and radars and sensors, and we could probably need some more people down there, to just some more Border Patrol agents down there, so we have more of a presence. I've built some of the biggest hotels in the world, and in any hotel, any great hotel, you got to have a good security system. So I've done this so many times. I know how to do this. I could get it done if I were president. I mean, we would have already had it built. It would have already been built. You could do this so quickly and really efficiently in terms of cost as well. And I don't understand. Our government has just failed time and time again with this. And to me, it would be really simple to get this solved. But we have to do something about it. We have to increase security, because this is what's fueling the opioid crisis in our country. They're bringing in drugs. They're being distributed all over the country. It's the fuel that keeps America's gangs going, and it's just ravaging communities in our country apart. So we have to take action.
Is this going to be something else that we agree on, Senator Sizemore, that you and he agree on?
No, it's not. Tell me, you Senator Fitzgerald, you tell me how cost-effective you can make all this. How much is all of what you just listed going to cost? Tell me.
I would estimate you could probably do it $500 million. $500 million. If it's a surveillance, now if it was a physical barrier, it would cost a lot more. But if you're talking about a virtual wall, you could do it $500 million, and you could pay for it by seizing assets of convicted drug cartel members. So you could actually make it revenue neutral.
You're being pretty conservative with your estimate, aren't you?
I don't think so at all. Look, as I said, I've done this for a living. I've put so many security, now not over an entire border of a country, but I do have experience putting this kind of thing together. You could do it really quickly and really easily, and it would be the rest of the world would look at it and say, this is an example of how you secure your border. I mean, it would be the envy of the world, but we don't do it because we have too many politicians. We have an administration that just isn't taking this threat seriously.
My friend,
Senator Sizemore, go ahead.
Yeah, my friend here is grossly over-exaggerating the amount of illegal immigrants that come into the country as a result of cartel-related activity and drug-related activity, right? The vast majority of people that are crossing the border illegally are people who just are looking for a better life here in America.
I don't disagree with that at all. I totally agree with that. That's really not what I'm worried about. But to say that there's no threat from cartels is absurd. There is. And the people living on the border, I mean, they're living in fear. They're terrorized because the violence is right across the border and it spills over.
The problem here is the way we can easily fix this is by making immigration into this country easier. We make it easier for the people that want to come here for a better life.
I don't have a problem with that. But that's really not what this is about. I don't think we're going to disagree on.
Senator, I understand what this is about, and if you'd let me finish, I can get to my point on this discussion on what we're talking about. Because if we make it easier for the folks that are coming here for the American dream, then those people are going to stop crossing the border illegally. We're going to stop that flow of people that are crossing the border illegally. And then once we've done that, then it's going to be a lot easier to root out the people that are trying to cross the border for the wrong reasons. We make it easier to spot the people that are here are crossing for cartel-related reasons and drug-related reasons. We don't need to invest however much, if it's $500 million or even more. We don't have to invest all of that money because we've instantly made it easier to spot, root out, and deal with the problem, the real problem here.
You can prevent the likelihood of being robbed by moving into a really nice upscale neighborhood, but you'll still lock your door at night. I don't disagree that we need immigration reform. Of course I support immigration reform. But to me, it's just common sense. You lock your door at night. You put up something that can actually secure our border, because the cartels aren't going to go away. I mean, they're not going to just disappear. You can pass all the immigration reform you want, but they're not going to disappear. They're still going to be a threat. I really don't see the harm in putting together, a security infrastructure like this.
I don't know what order people who support this argument are looking at. They act like there's just nothing. Like we're just an literal open door to Mexico that drug cartel leaders are walking through. I don't know what border you're looking at, Senator, because that's simply not the case. You are greatly over-exaggerating the fact that our border is so, quote, unsecure. That's simply not the case. We don't have a wide-open border. And to perpetrate that claim...
So you feel 100% secure and confident. You're just totally, you don't think we need to do anything.
I'm not saying that, Senator. What I'm saying is that, like I said, once we've reformed immigration, made it easier for the people that are looking for the American dream to come in, those people are going to stop immigrating here illegally. The vast majority of illegal immigrants are coming into this country because they want a better life. So once we've gotten rid of that reason to illegally immigrate, then the only people who are going to be immigrating illegally are drug cartel members. It's going to be pretty easy to root out just who's the problem, and it's going to be very few of them, because that is not even a big percentage of the people who are immigrating here illegally. So the problem then will be able to be dealt with the infrastructure, the technology, and the manpower that we have there now.
Which isn't a whole lot. That's very little. I mean, we passed the Secure Fence Act, but didn't even bother to finish most of it. Really sad.
We didn't.
Let me ask
so
you,
maybe you're confident in what we have. I'm not. I'm not at all confident. In a perfect system, I'm not confident in what we have.
Let's let Senator Sizemore respond real quick before. I have a quick question before parting shots too, but go ahead, Senator Sizemore.
Yeah, just like I'm saying, once we've eliminated the main reason, let's say I know this is obviously wrong, not the correct figures, but let's say 100 people a year immigrate into the United States illegally. Right. Maybe 95% of them are only immigrating illegally because they cannot get here the legal way and they just want a better life here in America. So once we made it easier for those 95 people to get here the right way, then only 5 people are crossing the border illegally. I think we can take 5 people. I think we can root them out, take care of the job.
Thank you. Senator Fitzgerald, I don't know if you saw my ears perking up a minute ago. You said, very nonchalantly, if I were president. Are you running?
Oh, no. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I have no plans to do anything like that.
You got me all excited, and then, all right.
I'm just saying, if I were the president, or frankly, some people in the Senator Sizemore's own party were president, I think we probably could have taken care of this. But, with the administration we have now, nothing's being done. But look, I think, and to what Senator Sizemore's saying, we need a comprehensive solution to this. And I totally understand the need for immigration reform, I think there's three things that need to be done. Number one, we need to increase security. For me, that's non-negotiable. Number two, like Senator Sizemore said, we need to make it easier for people to enter this country, you know, especially those who have the talents and skills and abilities that our country needs, or who are willing to work in certain sectors of the economy where there's a labor shortage. And number three, I think we have to do something about the 12 million people in this country who are undocumented right now. You can't just deport 12 million people. I mean, there has to be some kind of system for them to, you know, and maybe they have to jump through some hoops, and maybe they have to, you know, pay something, or, you know, I don't know. You do a background check, but there's got to be some system where those people can get a path to being U.S. citizens, so that they can vote and they can do everything else that, you know, we take for granted in this country.
Thank you. Real quick, Senator Sizemore. Now that the president's not going to run for re-election, are you in? Are you running?
Oh, it's far too early to comment on something like that. We just had a presidential election not 2 years ago, and so if I were to say no 2 years from now, maybe I change my mind. If I said yes, maybe 2 years from now I change my mind again. So I'm not going to comment on that either way.
That's fair enough. I'm going to keep asking you both up until 2020, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
So let's do parting shots real quick. We gave the first question to Senator Sizemore, so let's give the first parting shot to Senator Fitzgerald. You have a minute. Go, sir.
Well, I thanks Adam, and thanks Senator Sizemore for agreeing to this. I think I had a good time, and I think it's a good opportunity to talk to the American people and take questions from everyday citizens about all these issues and interact with the people. So this is good.
Thank you. Senator Sizemore, your turn.
Yeah, Senator Fitzgerald's absolutely right. This has been a great time. What's great about what we just had was that we can show that, yes, Democrats and Republicans disagree on a lot, but we also agree on just as much. We had just as many issues on tonight that we agreed on as we disagreed on. So it just shows that, yes, we're going to have room for fighting, but we're also going to have room for a lot of compromise and getting a lot of work done. And that's what's important. That's why we were sent here to Washington, to get things done for the American people. And what we just showed here tonight is that there is a lot that we can get done.
And I think a lot of people could agree with that. Well, let me add my thanks as well. Thank you both, gentlemen, for being here. And I hope you'll come back, likely before 2020. Expect me to ask you if you're running again. And and that's it for us here on Capitol Hill. We'll see you next time.